I always thought those home security cameras were for catching package thieves, or maybe seeing what your dog gets up to when you're not home. I never ever imagined mine would show me something I couldn't explain, something that still makes the hair on my arms stand up. It all started a few months ago. I was out of town, visiting family in another state, and my house in Texas was empty, or at least, I thought it was empty. It was late, probably around 2 in the morning, when my phone buzzed. It was a motion alert from my living room camera. I almost ignored it, thinking it was just a moth or a shadow from a passing car. But something made me open the app. The live feed popped up. The living room was dark, lit only by the faint glow of the streetlights outside the window. Everything looked exactly as I'd left it. The couch, the coffee table, the rug, all perfectly normal. I was about to close the app and go back to sleep, but then I saw a notification tag at the bottom of the screen. It was from the system's AI, the feature that's supposed to identify people, pets, or vehicles. This tag was different. It read, in all caps, "Unknown person detected." My heart started pounding. An unknown person, in my locked house, in the middle of the night. I scanned the video frame again, my eyes darting into every corner, every shadow. I zoomed in on the area the system had flagged, right in the center of the room. There was nothing there, just empty space. I thought, okay, it's a glitch, a bug in the software. It happens. I was relieved for a second. But then I noticed the audio icon. I tapped it, and the sound from my living room filled my ears. At first, it was just the familiar hum of the refrigerator from the kitchen, but then I heard something else, a soft, shuffling sound, footsteps. But they weren't heavy, like a burglar's boots. They were light, almost delicate, and they weren't moving from one point to another. They were circling the spot where the camera was placed on the bookshelf. My breath caught in my throat. I listened, frozen, as the soft footsteps went round and round. Who could be in my house? And why were they just walking in circles around the camera? I felt a cold dread wash over me, the kind you only feel when you know something is deeply wrong. Then, the footsteps stopped. The silence that followed was somehow worse than the sound. I held my phone with a white-knuckle grip, staring at the screen, waiting for something, anything, to happen. And then, a voice spoke. It was a child's voice, a whisper, so faint I almost missed it. It said, "Don't look at me." The voice was clear, and it sounded like it was right next to the camera's microphone. A child. In my house. My mind was racing, trying to make sense of it. Was a neighbor's kid lost? Did someone break in with their child? Nothing added up. The doors were locked. The alarm was set. There was no logical explanation. The voice was chilling, not just because it was unexpected, but because of the tone. It wasn't scared or lost. It was a warning. Before I could even process the words, the camera started to move. Now, this camera has a pan and tilt feature that I can control from my phone, but I wasn't touching the controls. My hands were shaking too much. The camera was moving on its own. It panned slowly, deliberately, away from the center of the room. It moved past the empty armchair, past the dark television screen, and then it stopped. It was aimed directly at the couch, my couch, and my blood ran cold, because someone was sitting on it. The image was grainy in the low light, but there was no mistaking the shape. A silhouette, sitting upright, right in the middle of the cushions where I always sit. I couldn't make out any features, just a dark form against the slightly lighter fabric of the sofa. My mind refused to accept what I was seeing. It had to be a trick of the light, a pile of blankets, anything. But the system had tagged an unknown person. The audio had picked up footsteps and a voice, and now the camera, moving by itself, was showing me a figure sitting on my couch. The figure was perfectly still, just sitting there in the dark, as if it was waiting. Waiting for what? For me to come home. The child's voice echoed in my head. "Don't look at me." Was it talking about this figure? I watched for what felt like an eternity, my heart hammering against my ribs. The figure didn't move a muscle. It was the most terrifying stillness I have ever witnessed. And then, the worst part, the part that I can't get out of my head. I zoomed in on the silhouette on the couch, desperate to see a face, to see something that would make it make sense. As the pixels sharpened, a horrifying realization dawned on me. The shape of the head, the slope of the shoulders, the way it was sitting, it was familiar, chillingly familiar. The camera feed wasn't just showing me *A* person on my couch. The camera was showing me. It was my silhouette. I was sitting on that couch, but I wasn't there. I was hundreds of miles away, staring at my phone in a cold sweat. It was like looking at a ghost, a doppelganger occupying my favorite spot in my own home. I immediately called the police in my town. I tried to explain what I was seeing, babbling about motion alerts and voices and a figure on my couch that looked just like me. I'm sure I sounded completely insane. To their credit, they sent a patrol car to do a wellness check. I stayed on the phone, watching the live feed, while the police arrived. I saw the flashing blue and red lights through the living room window. They went around the house, checked all the doors and windows. They found everything locked up tight. No signs of forced entry. They eventually had to get the spare key from my neighbor to go inside. I watched on my camera as 2 officers entered my living room, flashlights cutting through the darkness. They swept the entire room. They checked behind the couch, in the closets, everywhere, and they found nothing. The house was empty. The officer on the phone was patient but firm. "Sir, there's no one here. The house is secure. Are you sure about what you saw?" How could I explain it? I had the recording. I knew what I saw. I knew what I heard. After they left, I spent the rest of the night staring at the camera feed, but nothing else happened. The house remained still and silent. When I finally got home a week later, I was terrified to walk through my own front door. Everything looked normal, but it didn't feel normal. It felt watched. I saved the video clip from that night. I've watched it 100 times. The figure is there. The voice is there. I even bought a new, more expensive camera system, but I haven't gotten any more alerts like that one. Sometimes, late at night when I'm sitting on that same couch, I think about it. I think about that figure that looked just like me, sitting in the dark. I think about the child's whisper, "Don't look at me." Was it a warning? A glitch in reality? I don't have any answers. All I know is that my home doesn't always feel like it's just mine anymore. And every time my phone buzzes with a notification from my camera, my heart stops for a second, because I'm afraid that one day, I'll look at the screen and see myself sitting on the couch again, waiting in the dark. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more unsettling stories. Stay safe out there.